All right, just do it. Let's urge.
Hello, everybody. Harvey.
Fuck you, man. All right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes podcast. Podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with a H. With me, as always, is my co-host, Tavi.
Hey, Dan. Welcome back to Melbourne. Or
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
it
good
could
to
be.
back.
People watching know that our schedule is super fucking random. So sometimes you're in Melbourne, sometimes you're not in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have a massive beard, sometimes it's shaved.
Our
Our
timeline is fucked.
Our timeline is fucked, man. We're there, everything, everywhere, all at once.
But I'm very happy to be in Melbourne because today we have a very special episode.
Yes.
We have a guest. He has also travelled all the way from Sydney to join us. Please welcome to the show Tung from the Rice and Mike's podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me, man.
Welcome to
man.
Melbourne.
Yeah, good to have you. Good to have you come down, man. It's pretty cool to have, I guess, Sydney gang down. Even though Dan was former Melbourne, but then you abandoned us
For the better city.
for the better city.
Oh, well, funny you say that. When I came here, my girlfriend was like, "So you're just gonna hop in a car with like two guys you've never met before and just go to the house and do a recording?" And I was like, "Yeah, doesn't that sound normal?" And she's like, "Damn, what it's like to be a guy."
Yeah,
That's so true.
that is very true.
I'm like, I don't know,
We're
it
pretty
seems
lucky.
pretty normal. Yeah.
Well, if Tung's partner is listening to this, you're probably right. He probably shouldn't have jumped into a car
But
with
he
us.
is perfectly safe.
Stranger
at time
danger,
of
right?
recording.
Yeah.
I do have a big backyard.
So what did you guys slip in my drink just then? Was it?
Don't even worry about it, man.
Oh, okay.
You'll be fine.
It looks fine. Yeah. Maybe some protein powder or something. Yeah.
we got a bit started last night when we were setting this up. Yeah, we got some video, but
No, let me pour you a
yeah,
drink.
let's get it going. But I mean, like, before we ramble on too long, do you Tung, do you wanna like talk a little bit about like your podcast and how you got into it and that kind of thing?
Yeah, first off, it's good to be collaborating with other Asian Australian podcasts. I feel like I've answered this so many times I should have something written up by now. And
We never do, man. It's all good.
But shout out to Sydney Food Boy for this part. But I remember listening to a couple of eps from him. Like, he's been on a few pieces of media, and then he's always got that layout of like, I went to Singapore and like wanted to write a food blog, and then I was like, oh, okay, he's got it kind of down in pat. But for me, I'm just like, oh, I don't know.
Just winging it.
Yeah, I feel like it's just it's some variation that's evolved every time I think about it. It's like, oh, okay, I want to talk about Asian Australian content. Mm-hmm. It's a bit different to what you guys talk about. It's more in like careers, more on the common traits or stories that we might run into.
It's more structured than ours.
Structure there, I mean, maybe.
Like most podcasts. It's more structured than ours.
Well, you guys have a full-on list with what you guys work on.
That's true,
Which you sent
yeah.
to me, like the what was it, episode plan?
Oh, yeah, we have an outline that we usually throw out within the
That's
first
the word.
5 minutes of recording.
Yeah, I assume it kind of divulges from that, which is pretty normal. Knowing running my own podcast, I know it always just sidetracks to something else anyway.
Like to keep it loose.
Yeah,
That's
we
how
try to
it's
keep
supposed to
things
be.
loose. Yeah,
That's how it should be.
Like, I mean, we always say that the idea of our podcast is supposed to look low effort, but I mean,
We just spent an hour and a half just setting up.
just to talk shit about some stuff. But I mean,
But cheers, guys.
yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah,
We are
yeah,
drinking. Can you name the drink for context for our listeners here?
Monkey shoulder.
Yeah, we're not sponsored. None of this stuff here is sponsored.
I mean, we'll take some money if you're offering monkey shoulder.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's also 10:30 in the morning, so
I mean, I just want to say about Tung's podcast. Like, I've had to listen to a few of your episodes, and they're actually quite good to listen to. They're like, a lot of it does cover that kind of Asian Australian careers path, and sometimes nostalgia. You talk about what it was like going to uni at points, and you've also talked about going to Japan, and it's actually quite fun. It's pretty relaxing. It's not. I would say it's not a very pretentious podcast. It does sound like a bunch of mates just having a chat, which
Very
is what
relatable
we
stuff.
yeah,
Makes
it's what we
sense.
vibe with. So no, do check it out, guys. It's actually quite a it's quite a good
We
podcast.
will put links
yeah.
in the description.
Yeah, he read the script very well. Yeah. And I'll send him the $50 later. That was
Yeah,
very well
that's
thought
right,
out.
yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
mate. I really appreciate
Like
that.
now get out of my house.
So Tung is going to help us eventually talk about this movie, Perfect Blue, classic from 1997, directed by Satoshi Kon. But before we do that, we're just going to have a chat, get to know each other, learn about your general taste in media, so that kind of gives us a bit of context as to your thoughts about this film in particular.
Yeah, I mean, like we usually ask our guests what their experience growing up is like with Asian media
Yeah.
in general. But yeah, we just want to hear your take on
Oh,
that.
if you want to
yeah.
skip ahead to Perfect Blue, I'll put time codes in. So
Yeah.
you can
All
do
right,
that.
cool. Well, whoever doesn't want to listen to me, it's fine. I won't be offended.
Tune out now.
Use the
Yeah, that's what
timestamp.
Dad, yeah. So here's the link. So you don't want to find out about this guest that we have on our podcast.
We're like, who the hell asked, bro?
We want to cater to all kinds of attention spans here. An hour and a half is a long time for people.
No, if you have a short attention span, go somewhere else.
Follow us on TikTok.
A TikTok that I don't even follow.
Oh man! But going back to my childhood, man, it was a lot of it was the classic cassette tapes. This is before DVD was a big thing.
VHS.
That's the
Yeah,
shit,
yeah,
man.
that's the
Yeah.
word. And then I had this. I remember having this red car that would rewind it.
Oh,
And you just press down.
Oh my god!
I feel like that's in every Asian household, right? Everyone has that.
it just rewinds.
Yeah,
That's
you
the
just
only
press
thing it
down.
does.
You put the tape in, you press it down, and then it rewinds. It's the craziest tape.
Dude, you just hit me in the face
Yeah,
with
that's so
nostalgia.
good.
It's just like the memory has just surged through the red fucking
See, that's a
car.
preview of my podcast. So make sure you listen in, okay?
Oh my god!
Super relatable stuff, guys. But I remember that's like designed for like Blockbuster rentals as well, because you know how you used to, if you returned a rental and it wasn't rewound, they'd fine you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you get one of those things.
Oh, really?
It's never a problem.
Well, we'd always just borrow it from the library because growing up we weren't really well off.
Okay.
But then there was some that my parents did buy, and then I remember distinctly it was The Land Before Time. We had a bunch of those on VHS, and also Shrek 1 on VHS.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
It was a classic.
That would have been
Shrek
in,
one's a
like,
classic. Yeah.
in the ending phase of VHS.
Yeah. So I remember we had like a closet where usually your towels go. There was like one section on the shelf where it's just VHS, and then eventually started moving into DVDs with like Lilo and Stitch and all these other
Okay, yeah.
more classical DVDs that you would have heard about.
Yeah.
But apart from that, most of the content from what I would watch would be from free-to-air TV because we didn't really have like Foxtel or something. Streaming wasn't really a thing then.
Yeah.
No Asians had
Yeah.
Foxtel. Man.
Yeah.
None that I know maybe one or two that had Foxtel.
Ethan from Growing Up Bananas, who we did an episode.
Oh yeah,
with,
that's right. Yeah.
he had Foxtel, but I think it was for sports mainly. 'cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends if your parents were like into sports enough to invest in Foxtel.
not really.
No.
It was all invested into tutoring.
Yeah.
Which didn't really work out too well anyway.
No, it didn't work out for me either, man. So it's all right.
Yeah, there weren't really many streaming things then. Like,
No.
what would you do? It's all like
It's all free to-
Blockbuster, right? Back then.
Blockbuster, like
Getting DVDs
for those
from
not
cousins.
familiar with Australian
yeah.
media, Australia back in the day used to have like 4 channels, right? Like 4 free-to-air channels.
Oh, yeah,
7, 10, 9, ABC.
And
And
SBS,
SBS.
yeah.
SBS as well.
Channel 31. Don't forget, good old Channel 31.
I never
I
watched
don't think that was a
Channel
thing yet. Was that around then?
It
would have
was,
been, but
yeah.
like,
What was
Did
that
it-
for?
I remember I used to watch Blokes World on Channel 31.
What was that?
It was like a really like non-PC Australian show geared towards like men, and it would just be like these two like Aussie kind of bogan guys talking about really like masculine topics.
what
at the-
YouTube is now.
yeah. And it's like at the end of each episode they'd always have like a strip show, and that's that's
Okay.
why I watch it. Yeah,
Sounds
so
pretty good.
it's
What is
it's not-
this?
it's not the
Andrew
great-
Tate or something? Back then.
like Andrew Tate of the 90s.
Yeah, it was yeah. But I mean, it was for a young Tavi burgeoning on like looking at hot chicks for a time.
Hey, I mean, that was your version. My version was SBS on Friday nights.
Oh,
That's where you would have seen one of these films, I reckon.
No, one of these. I remember it was called Erotic Tales.
Oh, I remember Erotic Tales. Yeah.
Look at this, more nostalgia. How crazy is that?
Erotic
Nostalgia,
Tales.
On obscene like sexual fantasies.
Yeah. Other than that, it would have been like Target catalogs or Big W lingerie magazines. So
It's funny. 'cause
Ralph magazine.
it was tough, man.
Ralph
You know what?
magazine, yeah.
Kids have it easy these days.
Yeah.
It's too easy. Yeah.
But anyway, back to
But yeah,
media. As kids, let's steer back to the main topic on hand here.
So what were you watching back in the day? So you mentioned Land Before Time, Lilo and Stitch, Shrek. So were you like a big fan of animation back in the day?
Yeah, I think it was just like whatever was there, whatever was available. But
Were you a cheese TV guy, toasted TV guy?
I liked them, but there were just some shows I wasn't a big fan of.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I like Naruto, but they had the English dub, and then we know English dub isn't too hot for anime.
Nah, yeah.
All right?
It's not. Yeah.
I've never watched Naruto with English dub, but
You should listen to the opening.
Okay.
It's like, welcome to my ninja clan. And it's like, Sasuke, he's really cool. Sakura, the beautiful. It was so bad.
It was kind of like
Opening's terrible.
yeah. You got to have the Naruto openings. Yeah. I know. You grew up watching a lot of anime because in one of your very first episodes, I think it was like your 10th episode, you talked about anime a little bit. So I know you are pretty comfortable with watching anime, but did you watch much? Were you exposed to much like Asian films in general or stuff from Asia growing up, or not really?
Really? Because most of the movies I would watch, if they were new and current, would be on free-to-air TV. And then most of them would be Western movies. So that would be like, I would read Harry Potter from a book in the library as a kid, and then the movie would come out. And I know we'd never go to the movies. My parents would never take us.
Oh, is it?
And it would be like, all right, I guess we have to wait 2 years for it to be on like TV
Yeah.
and watch it with ads every 10 minutes. I don't know how we survived that.
And censored as well.
Harry Potter?
Harry Potter wouldn't be, but some movies.
Yeah, I don't think
But you wouldn't. But the beauty is, you wouldn't know that it's censored. Like I watched the censored version of like Bad Boys or something before like even realized. I never realized that they said the N word so much in that movie until I watched it later.
Yeah.
So how did they censor? They just like beat
It
that
was just
out
like
or just cut out?
But
just
like
cut,
I
yeah.
guess it would have been pretty seamless, I guess, if I didn't notice it as a kid. But you know,
You just wouldn't notice it because it's just very jarring if they're just cutting mid sentence like that.
Speaking of a movie that probably would have been heavily censored on if it ever was on TV, we're going to be talking about Perfect Blue, as Dan said before. One of the all-time classics, I think. One of 4 Satoshi Kon films, and I think my favorite one.
For those unfamiliar with Satoshi Kon, his other works include Tokyo Godfathers, Millennium Actress, and Paprika. So all animated works.
And
but yeah,
Paranoid Agent,
And
his
Paranoid
only
Agent,
TV series. Yeah,
he's got a pretty distinct style. But this is your first time watching this movie, right, Tung?
Yeah, I've heard of his other movies like Tokyo Godfather. That's the Christmas one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done an episode. Link here.
link down below, up above, whatever.
Wherever
YouTube,
it is,
if
it's there
YouTube
somewhere.
change their template in the future to fuck us over,
So I
get
don't-
used to the point, but yeah.
I didn't know what to expect from this movie.
Okay, but
But-
you've heard of it before. It's
I've heard
kind
of
of
it.
in this.
I told my friends about it and they were like, oh, it's a good movie. You should watch it. And then we're going to get into it, but it was a bit surprising.
Yeah. So his works are pretty prolific, I would say.
yeah, definitely.
It's definitely
Yeah.
in the zeitgeist, but it is definitely one of those films that unless you were looking for it back in the day, you probably wouldn't have found it. Like it would appear on SBS every now and then, I reckon. But
Not even, I don't think.
you don't think so? Yeah.
I mean,
Probably like it's the same era as Ghost in the Shell, Akira, and that kind
those
of stuff.
90s anime. I mean, I've got like on the table the anime classics box set somewhere there. When I got my sister to buy it for me because I was underage. That's the original, the R rate, the old school R rating. Yeah.
So it's in the realm of like animated films that aren't for kids.
Yeah.
This isn't The Land Before
Definitely.
Time.
This is the last
Yeah,
one.
we've upgraded
Shrek.
now.
One. This is something else. This is 90s Japanese anime movies.
I've got a lot of interesting questions that I do want to ask Tung about this movie because there is a lot of like IT related stuff. But
Just a little bit of
yeah.
about the plot, I guess. Well, this is like what is it, a 30-year-old movie almost at this point?
1997.
So we're going to be talking full spoilers for this really old film.
Yeah.
But if you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, maybe go check it out before coming back and listening to this episode. But basically, the film centers around what's her name? Mima?
Mima,
Yeah, Mima, who is a member of an idol group who retires to pursue a career in acting. As this decision takes her career down a different path and a more confronting path, she becomes the victim of a murderous stalker, and as a result, she begins to lose touch with reality. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Obviously directed by the legendary Japanese filmmaker Satoshi Kon and based on the novel by Yoshikazu Takeuchi. So it's a pretty interesting and mind-bending film, I would say.
Yeah, we did have like a quick meeting before we got Tung on the episode, and we did mention that we're kind of like morphed into showing our guests something that's pretty intense, because I kind of just like freaking out, I guess. But like, what was your reaction to this movie, Tung? Because I actually thought you had seen it, like, because I thought you said you'd actually seen it, but you hadn't. So this is actually more interesting now. What was your first reaction to watching this movie without any context?
The first thing when something naughty happened was turn down the sound and shut the door.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, man, look, in the movie, there's like a movie scene where it's like essentially hentai.
Sure. There's the sexual assault scene.
It's a film set, so it's
Within
not
a film, yeah.
It's a film within a film. Like she becomes an actress.
Yeah.
And it was loud, man. And I've got like a sound bar. I've got the fucking bass going. the door out to the outside world is open, and then it's just happening. And I was watching this with my girlfriend, and she's like, "What the hell are we watching, man?" And I had to like close everything. I'm like, "Oh, I swear it's good. It's good. It's supposed to."
You're like, this is for my job, you know.
Yeah.
This is for podcasting.
Hey, please. It's for content.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty. I mean, I've seen this movie like several times. Because Satoshi Kon is one of my favorite filmmakers. There's definitely a lot of like mind-bending themes. I really love his use of like match cutting to different like locations. Like the editing in this movie is fantastic, and he's really good at like bending reality and kind of confusing you in a sense where it's not like, it doesn't take you too far off the plot, I think. Yeah. And they're definitely like atmospheric movies. But I mean, upon rewatching this, there's a lot of this movie was made on the burgeoning the birth of the internet, essentially, because you see Mima, she's using Netscape Navigator.
Oh, yeah.
She's typing in HTTP. She has no idea what dial-up is, and she's using a fax machine, which Japanese people still use these days.
Surprisingly,
Yeah. But despite the technology being dated, would you say that this movie, its themes are still very relevant, especially just given what the internet is now in terms of like privacy and identity, you know,
Doxing people.
yeah. But yeah, it gets pretty intense. But like, did you think, Tung, when you watched this movie, that like, do you think it predicted a lot of what? Because you're kind of familiar with IT stuff, so do you think it predicted much of what is wrong with this kind of stuff these days?
Yeah, it's gotten worse, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, think of how often this website that was updated just from some random stalker, and then compare that to now, where you have stories, you have Twitter, things that are just constant updates.
Yeah.
Much more frequent, and the fact that you can track someone a lot more easily with just what they're doing and what they're posting on social media these days. So I don't know, man. Being someone that works in something like in K-pop, where you're contracted to not have a boyfriend,
Yeah.
which is insane to me.
It is pretty insane, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, like, in this scenario where she's like a pop idol, there's probably some sort of similar scenario set up, hypothetically at least. Well, it wasn't really brought up, but there probably is something like that, because it brings in more like more ticket sales. Let's
Yeah,
say.
100%. Yeah. Like these idols, they're called idols because
Yeah.
they're built to be idolized, right? And you don't want your idols, being in relationships with a guy that isn't you.
Yeah,
Right?
Especially
it's a fantasy. Yeah.
I think Mimarin and her group, I think, what are they called? Blue Heart? Cham. Yeah, Blue Hearts is the other movie. I think they're, if you're familiar with Japanese culture, there's like different tiers of idols. You've got like, even amongst like AKB, you've got your top tier AKB, and then you've got your lower tier ones because there's like 100 or so members,
Yeah.
and they're more like the street level idols, right?
It's kind of like, for a local reference, kind of like the Wiggles.
Yeah.
The Wiggles
No,
have like
not
a
even
core
like,
group, but the Wiggles also have like exterior members to like do little shows here and
Really?
there.
Have you ever, because you've been to Japan before?
Been twice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, sometimes you go and you'll see like street performances from idols, and they are idols by definition, but they're not like big, but they've got like a small, like, I guess I should use the word cult. I guess
A reasonable following.
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
say.
So you see them at like Tokyo Tower,
Yeah,
and it's not like a big venue, but they'll come on stage for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
They usually
right.
start off as quite like a small idol.
And they'll always be free, like free
Yeah.
shows. You can just rock up and just watch them.
Yes.
But they will always have a contingent of very loyal fans.
Mostly
right up the
older
front.
men. Yeah.
Usually
Oh,
older
I've seen
men.
them. Yeah, like businessmen. Yeah.
Yeah. And they know all the dance moves and they sing along and stuff. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting subculture. And I was telling you, Tavi, before, like it's kind of leaked into Sydney as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time you spend around the CBD, but there is a busker, a street performer in the CBD now who is essentially an idol. And she does like all these like Japanese dances and she also has pretty loyal
What's
fans
the name
there.
for that one?
I don't know. I've just seen her around.
Yeah,
like,
you're
in the
telling me.
CBD.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
So,
like,
yeah, she does the same kind of performances as they do in Perfect Blue. She's like dresses up in the little maid outfits and stuff. And
Oh, we got to find out who this is.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm curious.
she's pretty good. She's like, yeah, a really good performer. So, and she definitely gathers a crowd. So like, it's interesting that subculture has kind of leaked into Sydney even, because even in Japan, I wouldn't say it's niche, but it's not like something that everybody's doing. Like I wouldn't really say it's socially acceptable, like in a mainstream level in Japan.
Really, I feel like it's quite normalized.
Yeah, it's normal. It's more normalized than it would be here. But
I think because there's a lot of people in Japan that like it, so it looks normalized. But
yeah, but if you talk about it to like an everyday person, they'll be like, "Oh, that's like an otaku."
That's
Yeah.
cringe.
yeah,
So like, yeah, definitely there's a bigger following in Japan, but I wouldn't say that it's like entirely normalized. So when you see like the characters in Perfect Blue kind of portrayed as like these weird stalkers, it kind of makes sense. Like it's really easy to portray these fans as weird stalkers.
And they really exaggerated on the character.
Yeah,
It was
especially the main stalker in this movie.
yeah,
He's so weird.
It's like the
looking.
first 5 minutes, and then his face came on, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder who that's going to be." Big
He's probably just a
surprise.
normal guy, you know. But it's interesting because, the movie does tackle upon a lot of fairly heavy themes, and I'm surprised that this movie is only MA rated because it's a pretty intense movie, and it's like a lot of the stuff that happens to Mima. Most of the plot or the conflict is mostly within herself and her becoming an innocent idol, the typical kawaii Japanese idol, and then burgeoning onto more like, I guess, adult stuff as a performer, where you just have to keep saying like yes and yes and yes
Or an
to
actress.
these roles, and it obviously weighs down on her, and then she starts like, losing herself and losing her identity, and she's getting all these like stalker messages, and that's something that unfortunately still happens like a lot today.
100%. And
Like,
it's even easier because of the internet. It's so much easier to just put a comment in
Yeah.
versus having a website in the movie where it's just a
Right.
blog that you
Like
can never stumble upon.
Yeah, rewatching this film, I thought like, oh, this is actually pretty quaint. It's like,
yeah.
It's the one website that you might not even know exists.
yeah.
That's about you.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I've probably given it away a bit much, but like, I'm curious to hear what your guys like, I guess, initial interpretation of this movie. Like, what did you gather from it?
You can start, Dan. You're the expert.
Well, I mean, like, obviously it's dealing with the theme of, you know, this celebrity identity, I guess, and how fans perceive celebrities that they worship and how quickly it can turn as well. But like the whole mind-bending aspect of it, I think like this seems like a very Satoshi Kon thing. Like I don't think, from my knowledge, I don't think the book, the original source material, is actually as mind-bendy as this movie, I think. And apparently the original screenplay is more faithful to the book. So it's more of like a straightforward, you know, slasher, I guess. But it's interesting because Satoshi Kon, he said that he's not really interested in horror and he's not really interested in idols. So him taking on this movie,
That's been interesting.
I think he just wanted to make something that, you know, appealed more to him. So he added all of the more mind-bendy stuff in it. And it's cool that like that aspect of it has really influenced a lot of like works in Western media as well. So things like Black Swan, for example, that's the main one.
A few obvious references from Darren Aronofsky. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, I think the themes are really relevant even to today. Like you mentioned K-pop, I think that's probably what stuck with me the most is seeing something like this is probably not very dissimilar to what a lot of K-pop stars have to go through on a daily basis. And we've always talked about like how it takes an especially brave person to be part of that scene.
Yeah.
Just because you're putting yourself out there. Even what we do, like as podcasters, like we're putting ourselves on the internet. And, you know, it can turn on you depending on what happens on the air. So
yeah, don't attack armies.
yeah, I mean, we like to poke fun here and there, and luckily, you know, our audience is still pretty small, so we haven't really received much backlash. But you know, it's not inconceivable that something like this could happen to anybody in the public forum. So I feel like these themes still kind of resonate with anybody that, you know, anybody that has an Instagram account, really, anybody that has an online presence.
Yeah, just running off that actually before you give your interpretation, Tung. Since starting your Rice and Mike's podcast, have you upset the apple cart in any sense? Just out of curiosity. You don't have to tell us if there is.
No,
but,
it's happened, yeah. I mean, I assume you guys have already covered what happened to you guys, to your audience already.
Nah, I mean, like we havenent really gotten much.
I'm making it seem bigger than it is, but we just kind of annoyed a couple of fans of
BTS,
I think it was BTS and Taylor Swift and One Piece.
The One Piece live action.
Have you discussed about that on the pod though? The audience knows about it.
No, not really. I mean, it's like in all, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's too small to really get into.
Small,
it's just little YouTube comments here and there.
they're
Obviously,
not that
defending works that, you know, they are interested in, and you know, that's fair enough.
We haven't got death threats
everybody's
yet.
entitled to their opinion. Just don't do the death threats.
Don't do the death threats. Yeah.
There's a line.
Okay, well, I haven't gotten death threats yet, but one of my reels that I have made, you guys can find it on my Instagram account. It went viral. It was 1.9 million views.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it was like, I've never run into anything like that before.
Okay.
Like the comments were just crazy, right?
Yeah.
So for context, I asked one of my friends asked my chef mates if they put sauce in their pho.
Okay.
Very innocent question. It's a friendly debate. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just a bit of banter where we're just like, oh no, you don't put it in because, you know, the flavors from the soup, blah, blah, blah. And then I had these people just from all over. I think they might have been from the US or something. I mean, I'm not like, you know, putting down all of US. Doesn't mean all US people like
actually. Sorry.
But there were people that just like coming in the comments like, oh, you guys are stupid. This isn't how it's supposed to be made. Or there was someone else saying like, okay, someone asked, "Oh, how are we supposed to eat it then?" And I just commented like, "Just eat it how you want, man. We're not gonna like."
Yeah.
Like I didn't say it, but I said, "Just eat it how you like," insinuating that no one's gonna knock down the door and like tell you off for eating it your way.
Yeah.
And some of the commenter was like, "But you just said that people should be arrested for like putting sauce in their fur," and I'm just like, what are you talking about? It's just a joke. Like, why are they taking it so seriously? But but there are some comments where it does get to you a little bit, where it's like, I'm just putting like just a bit of fun out there, but then people take it a bit too seriously. But then I did get used to it, and then now it's just like, it's whatever.
Washes over you at a point, right?
I think,
and it's not everybody as well. It's like the vocal minority of it. When you have like, what was it, 1.9 million views
on that
you're
reel,
gonna get some crazy
100%.
comments. And that's just the nature of the internet. And I think we've like accepted it. Like the public has accepted how the internet is in general. But it is pretty toxic.
I mean, there's definitely like is pretty illustrated quite well in this movie, and it's like it was a good kind of topic to bring up, just in terms of like the toxicity, because whatever the toxicity on the net now these days is 1,000 times worse than what it was in this movie.
Terrible.
It's like, I mean, if you're thinking about like just hearing your story, it's quite absurd. That it's like, oh yeah, I put sauce in my fur, you know. I put like, I don't know, this might be controversial, but you know, we got to piss off someone. Like
it's called engagement target. It's great.
I like, depending where I eat fur, I will usually have it like as it is, and then I defile it, like hoisin sauce, chili oil. It's like that's it. Like it's easy. I like it that way. Shitload of bean sprouts, a lot of herbs. Yeah. So I do have it. I'm not gonna say diluted, but like it's kind of like how I grew up eating pho with my parents, because they didn't teach me, oh yeah, you have to just like took me to a pho restaurant and it was fine.
I keep it pretty pure. Because I mean, in general, I'm not a sauce guy.
Yeah. But the argument is north and south. So northern Vietnam, for context, usually put sauce in it.
Southern Vietnam doesn't.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's just dependent on the broth. If it's made correctly and it's like actually like, I don't know what the whole process is. I'm not a chef.
Okay.
But I think it's like a slow broth, and then it brings out more of the meat or something, where you don't need to put the sauce in.
Right. Okay.
So you'd only put the sauce in if the broth is just like plain and it sucks.
So if you own a pho restaurant and you see Tung just putting a bunch of sauce in your pho, you know your pho sucks.
It's like the pho police come, excuse me, Tung, just gonna have
to avoid getting cancelled, I'll just say I mean this in a general sense.
Gonna have to bring you aside, sir. It's like, what have I done? Just come with us. And you put your handcuffs and get arrested, and then you get taken to interrogation. Why'd you do it? Why'd you put sauce in? It's like, oh, please, just like my pho.
I think that was like 2 years ago or something, like a year ago, but that was a while ago.
I mean, this is what I mean when I feel like this movie is really quaint. It's like, because the inciting incident in this movie is when Mima quits being an idol, she gets convinced to do like this sexual abuse scene in her drama that she's filming. And when her crazy fans see that, like they flip out, basically. So we're going from this in the 90s. This is like Satoshi Kon's depiction of how toxic like the internet might be to like conversations about fur. People flipping out over fur. So like that's what I mean when this movie feels kind of quaint, but at the same time it does escalate into gruesome murders, which as far as I know is not happening with your for real, but at time of recording.
On the record, no,
not yet. And then like for some reason, like, well, if there's a message of me saying Tung never made it back to Sydney after this recording, but we still decided to put the episode out anyway because
JCS wrote. It was at this moment he knew he was in trouble. Oh man, true crime.
But that's where this film kind of ramps up the stakes, I guess, and ramps up the tension is when the murders start happening. Like from a narrative point of view, I guess, themes aside, did you find it like an engaging watch?
Yeah, but it's obviously it's more exaggerated to what actually happens. How something so small can just blow up. I mean, this can kind of be, you're obsessed with the idol and then you don't want to see them like that. You can kind of say the same thing with how you might find out something about like a celebrity.
Yeah.
Maybe they found a tweet from like 2011 where they said the N-word, and they're like, "Oh no, I hate this guy now."
Yeah, cancelled.
You know, it's so easy for people to just flip from "I love this person" to "I hate, them."
this person. Yeah,
And that's what happens here in the movie.
Yeah, it can happen on an instant. Yeah, like
so it's just almost like the premonition of cancel culture in a sense. Well, not
guess
I mean,
so,
she wasn't really cancelled, but it's
More
kind of like a
obsessive cancel.
yeah.
yeah.
Just it's kind of like in its infancy, like what could probably give birth.
Yeah, I think
that
it's
kind of thing,
maybe a
yeah.
bit more reminiscent of like how K-pop might work.
I think it's IRL cancelled. Like he wanted to kill her, to
Yeah.
cancel her,
Yeah.
her subscription to life.
Because I think in the West, like people get cancelled, but it never feels dangerous, I guess. Whereas because maybe it's less fanatical as something like the idol industry, where these people are literally being idolized. Yeah, it's not the same as like a Western celebrity. I don't think where like it just doesn't feel as the cancel culture doesn't feel as murderous, I guess.
Yeah.
When people get cancelled, they're like dead on the internet, but not IRL. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like something like K-pop, sometimes it does tend to feel a little dangerous.
It can be, man. All the hate comments. I don't know if you know about, is it FX?
Oh yeah, and that's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Sully, which she copped a lot of shit, and unfortunately, she chose to end her life because of of all the stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Which is like
It builds on you, man. All that hate.
what do you think? I mean, it kind of seems that it is more prominent of the effect of this kind of culture that happens in the East, like over obsession to the point where fans feel entitled that they can say such things or even feel entitled to attempt to take the life of someone. Do you think it's worse in Asia compared to the West? Because I know it does happen in the West, but it seems like the Asia kind of breeds this culture a bit more.
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the nature of the like I guess the pop industry in Asia. I think because these pop stars, they're marketed as, these treasures that need to be protected. That's why they have these contracts where they're like, they can't have a boyfriend.
Or like, I think they like Blackpink and all that, Girls' Generation, all those
all
big
those
groups, they all don't
Yeah.
have that, right?
It's starting to be less normalized. Like some idols are choosing to have boyfriends or girlfriends now, but they're still met with a lot of some of them, like some of the bigger ones, are still met with a lot of criticism when they do get it. I know Twice members have had like boyfriends and stuff, but they've been surprisingly quite tame. But I think Lisa has like a Swedish boyfriend. I'm not sure, but fans weren't happy with that. I know there was another kind of scandal that involved like Han So-hee, like
Oh yeah, that was
cheating
recent.
on it. Yeah, I don't know that much about it, but like, yeah, it happened and people get pissed off. Yeah.
Well, you're never going to please everyone.
No, unfortunately not. No. Yeah.
And unfortunately, because the fans are so passionate about these stars and so loyal to these stars, when the stars do something that, upsets the fans, they get really upset. Whereas I don't think that culture is quite there in the West. I don't think the West has ever been kind of this culture that idolizes celebrities that much to the point where they feel like, the fans are their partner,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all. I think it's pretty unique to the East. I would say.
Yeah.
I feel like West is more ships. They want to ship this person with that person rather than, they got to play solo queue only.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of do that in dramas though in Korea. You're telling me, Dan.
Oh yeah, they ship all the time.
They ship
in
all the
Korean
time.
dramas.
But yeah, it's weird because they ship, but then when it actually happens, they're like, we're only suggesting. We're only in our fantasy. But when you actually do it, you're mine, It's weird. I think Asians are much lonelier than people in the West. So we're a lot... I guess you get bogged down with work a lot more. So whatever you choose to spend your spare time with, you get pretty deep into it. I think that's usually the case, especially with a lot of the Japanese students that we talk to. They're never really into a lot of things. It's always like one thing that they like, but they're like really good at it or really into it.
Right.
So I think with idol culture, you get so invested into the idol themselves that you feel like they are your only reason to live. That's why you go do your 9 to 5 or whatever. But then when that illusion is suddenly broken, you don't have something else to fall back onto. There's this kind of element where I guess your self-defense mechanism kicks in, and you kind of you lose your shit a little bit, like as explored by the stalker dude in this one. You start to rationalize evil behavior, I guess, which you see in the film where there's like a ghostly Mima that talks to the stalker guy, and she says like, you should go kill her because that's not the real. And then you just kind of bend it,
And again, we're talking in generalities.
Yeah.
This is not to say that all fans are crazy stalkers. It's okay to like an idol if you like an idol, as long as you do it in a safe way and a way that like is mentally healthy as well. Because like you said, a lot of it stems from loneliness, I think, and a lot of this idea of devoting yourself to something. If it's not an idol, it might be a sports team or even just like a hobby. Japanese people especially, I feel like, get really invested in their hobby. So maybe it is just that.
Just in case it's me and Dan talking too much, what do you think about all this?
I think it's interesting you bring up that other point about people in Asia, how they have to only focus on one kind of thing. And then it kind of becomes their drive to do something. Very interesting. I never really thought about it. And then that kind of ties into another piece on how typically some Asians like to move to Australia because of the work culture here compared to Asia. It's a lot better. And I remember reading about something, I forgot where, but it was one where there was an international company and then the Japanese hated the Australian team because every Friday after like 2:00 they'd be uncontactable because they'd be out having beers. So, like they can see the stark difference between the two different work cultures. One's overworked and one's like, we just want to get paid.
It's weird because obviously we are westernized in that sense that I don't want to, if I'm working for a company, I'm not devoting my life to it. My weekends are my choice.
Not fucking doing unpaid overtime, mate.
I mean, because I work in the creative fields now, I'm actually more inclined to, because I like what I do and like I'm very curious about these things. But when I was doing, just regular like white collar and blue collar jobs, I'll just be like, I'm there, I'll do the job. Once the job's done, I'm out. I'm going drinking with my friends. I'm relaxing a bit, But like, with Asian work culture, it's definitely like, unpaid overtime and never leaving when the boss.
Do you think that's more that sense of duty that they have? Like they're always about duty and doing your
respecting
part.
elders mainly.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, that's the whole part of it. I mean, we have it in a sense here where it's more healthier. Where I don't know about you guys, but growing up Asian Australian, I feel like a lot of us do like to seek approval from superiors. Just because of the way we were raised. And I definitely found after self-reflecting that that's how I felt sometimes with like managers. I'd be like, I'd try to get the work done quickly or something. But once I realized, I was like, what's the point in this? I mean, there's obviously a good amount of let's do some good work versus like, let's manage it, because if you get the work done quickly, you just get rewarded with more work.
That is a kind of a generational difference as well. And it is getting better in Japan, I think, as well. Like as the younger generation becomes more kind of exposed to Western mentality, like they get kind of a bit more rebellious and thinking, they start thinking like, why are we actually doing this, as opposed to we should just do this. Which is probably a healthier approach. It's about balance, I guess.
Actually, I know we're kind of diverging from the movie a bit, but I mean, like this might be more in tune to maybe your listeners, but obviously the Asian Australian and the Asian experience is very different, and it's kind of hard to explain. Like, I guess there's an Asian part of you and a white part of you. What would you say you're more in tune with in here?
Definitely Western culture. I mean, I've covered a few episodes where I try to learn a bit more about our culture, such as Lunar New Year. I don't know much about it. Did an episode, learn a bit more.
Yeah.
Because I only know the basics of that. And one of the things I think I would like to be more in tune with is my native tongue. Because I can speak basic primary school language, I think up to like year 5 or year 6. So when I went to Vietnam, Christmas, the recent Christmas, I was like, okay to talk. I can understand, but then speaking's kind of slow. And I don't want to lose that if I have kids. And I think that's really important. Because it's so useful to have another language as a skill. I don't know, kids are just sponges, man. And then when I try to like learn it, like I was trying to learn Japanese for like during COVID. Like that was my outlet. Like I might as well learn a bit of Japanese. Man, it's so hard to learn another language as an adult.
Yeah, as an adult, it's tough.
Yeah. But I guess we should talk about this movie.
Yeah, so like,
well, it's a good movie.
with the Western like gaze, I guess, could you still kind of resonate with the themes and like the, I guess the subject matter in general? Because it's a pretty Japanese film, I would say. Like the fact that it is anime is definitely a Japanese aesthetic. But could you still kind of vibe with it? And
I can understand the themes, definitely with the, going back to the other point of just about the stalkerish vibe with the websites and the pictures. I think it's just so easy to access people's details these days.
And the art style is kind of weird. Like some characters look really weird.
Yeah, the stalker guy, like, come on, they never do him dirty like that. I don't think.
Even the even that lady, Rumi.
Yeah, Rumi,
she's got a very
kind of
weird character design.
Now that you brought it up, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Why does every character look like Sid from Ice Age?
The eyes are so far.
What is up with that?
Well,
so many characters are like that.
Were you very much, because you probably have watched like Ghost in the Shell and Akira at some point. Would you say the animation style from the 90s is different than what it is now? Because I think it definitely is. I think it's a bit more homogenized now. Like it's more, there's definitely like most of the designs, even for like disturbing animes, they're usually quite like cute looking.
What are you comparing it to?
I'm comparing it to a lot of animes that come out these days, especially like I haven't seen it.
Like
what was
Tokyo
that
Ghoul,
one?
for example.
Tokyo Ghoul. There's another one. Oh, I forgot the title. One of my friends told me to watch it. It's like the character designs are very childish.
Okay.
But then if you keep watching it, it gets fucked up.
Okay.
It's not the magical girl one. It's an Made in Abyss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah. So it's like I've only watched the first 3 episodes of it, but it's quite cutesy.
Yeah.
But a lot of my Japanese friends really like it, and apparently it gets fucked up. Like it just changes, and you're like, oh shit, that's.
In what way? Can we spoil a bit of it?
I actually don't know. Like I just know that I know that it's considered a dark anime. I don't know what happens in the plot, but I think there's a secret that they come across that is messed up in some sense.
Or maybe like they're farming kid organs or something like that.
Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah. If you're a Made in Abyss fan, maybe don't put the spoilers in the comments because people probably want to watch it. I want to watch it.
All right, now I'll check
at
it
some
out.
point. Yeah, but like, I mean, if you look at a lot of the just animation designs today, they're a lot more like pleasing to the eye. But if you look at, I mean, even just look at the box cover for like the anime classics, a lot of the designs are burgeoning on the realistic style of anime.
So like,
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I haven't watched Ghost in the Shell or Akira.
Oh, what? You haven't watched them? Well,
for next time.
let's just go and put in this podcast, go watch it. Yeah. But I mean, just looking at the cover, like there's this kind of realness to it that's a bit different.
Not like kawaii characters.
They're not
I
kawaii
guess.
characters.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I guess that question doesn't work if you haven't watched that many like 90s. But like, 90s anime is mostly like Dragon Ball,
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon's a classic. I just know the animations just obviously it's all like hand drawn and it's taken a lot more time. And I think there might be shortcuts that some animes do take now with like CGI and
Yeah.
I don't know, digitally created frames or something. I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Could you notice the difference? Like the
Oh, you can tell
quality?
I mean, obviously the quality is going to be different. Like my copy was obviously it was a legally obtained copy, which was 1080p, and you can
Asian Blokes does not support piracy.
you can tell it's obviously a bit more grainy. And I don't know, did they like scan hand-drawn pictures or something? Was
That, and there's a
Illustrator
different
thing?
aspect ratio as well.
It's definitely because if you watch Perfect Blue, you'll notice even with the still shots, like there's a jitter. There's a jitter to the lines, and that is because each thing is scanned.
Yeah.
So everything in this movie is hand drawn, which is like a pretty insane feat. And if you watch a film, like if Akira is ever playing at a cinema near you, like do yourself a favor and go watch it in a movie because it holds up so fucking well. Like Akira is one of the best animated films of all time. Like it honestly has not aged. I don't think
It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah, it's
because
classic,
it does
yeah.
hold up, and
I mean-
a lot of that has to do with the hand drawn aspect that you mentioned. Like it's rare to see a hand drawn animated thing these days.
Yeah.
Like we saw Boy and the Heron pretty recently, which is Studio Ghibli's most recent work. But it's just really, really time consuming, and it can only be done if you really crunch the animators. So pretty much can only be done in Japan now, where crunch is still acceptable.
Please don't crunch your workers.
Please don't crunch your workers. I was going to say it's not worth it, but maybe it is worth it. But like from an ethical standpoint, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's its own art style anyway. I mean, I feel like it's going to be phased out more anyway, and it'll just be more of a relic thing, because it'll be like what handmade dumplings, right? Instead, now it's going to be machine dumplings, but there's always going to be a market, maybe a smaller market for I don't know, hand pulled noodles or something.
Yeah.
But
Like
nowadays-
handwritten content as opposed to AI generated content.
Oh yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
For articles,
yeah.
yeah.
But I think, like, this is me being the snobby filmmaker. Automating everything too much, you lose a lot of personality, and you lose a lot of the, like, I mean, most filmmakers love grain and love imperfect images and flaws. And A Perfect Blue is definitely, if you watch it, the animation is dated, for sure. Like, not everything is, I guess, perfectly drawn. There's a few like skipped frames and stuff, but what I really like about this movie is like I don't think for me it has aged in terms of its narrative context and its narrative relevance. I think I can always watch this movie at any given time, despite like, you know, it's pretty intense subject matters. Were you like, because before we did the recording, like you said, like, you got a pretty strong stomach for watching
Maybe don't,
stuff. Yeah,
maybe don't mention what I said. But it's pretty dark stuff.
You
Not
got
illegal.
like, I'm not gonna, but like you're used to seeing things, but like what?
Let's say gore.
Yeah, gore. Yeah.
Sure.
Would you say like you were like particularly disturbed by this movie at all?
Not really. It's a bit uncomfortable. But it's not something where I'd be like, oh no, like Sharon, get the kids, get them out of the house. This is terrible.
Well, this movie was supposed to be a live action. Do you think if this was a live action movie, it would be more disturbing?
Yeah, it's more impactful.
Yeah.
And it's actual people.
Definitely harder to make something like this in live action, just from like a finance point of view. It's like you're not going to get many investors if you try to sell this premise as a live action. It'd be hard to cast as well, I reckon. But I guess that's the reason it got put into an animated straight to video release instead.
Wasn't it at the cinema? I don't remember actually with Perfect
So
Blue.
it was it was made for direct to video.
Yeah.
But it was treated as a film, so it got invited to a lot of festivals and played as a film, which was really surprising to everybody involved in the making of the film, because like I said, Satoshi Kon was not really interested in this film at all.
Yeah.
He kind of just made it and wasn't expecting much from it, but then it got this massive treatment, especially from the West, and everybody was kind of surprised by how successful it was as a film.
A lot of people from the West, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, really dug extreme Asian cinema back then.
like Takashi Miike.
Yeah.
That's his bread and butter, right?
What do you think that was? Like, why were we so interested in that shit back in the
This is
day?
90s.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I was 4 years old.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You're living, yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I was supposed to be buying Bitcoin then.
Supposed to be buying your first house.
I was playing handball, making a mistake.
handball, yeah.
Yeah.
I think even as a kid though, even back in the day, there's a reason why like young kids would watch Dragon Ball Z, which is a lot more violent than you would see in like a Western animated TV show, something like I don't know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's because like it was hard to find, especially in animated format. It was hard to find things with a bit of grit and a bit of deeper like subject matter in animated form. And like from like addressing your question about why Western audiences were looking for something like were interested in Japanese shock cinema, I guess, is because it's so different to what the West was putting out, I think. And it's like maybe it became what they were expecting from Japan. Yeah, it was the expectation that, oh, this is a Japanese film. It must be fucking shocking. It must be confronting. And often it was.
Yeah, definitely.
I probably that would go to explain that, I think.
Maybe difference not the right word. I feel like it was just better.
Yeah, in
And
a
like,
way.
there were some animated films or series that were like, it's okay. But then I remember I was watching like Bleach, Naruto. That thing was like popping off. That was like the thing to talk about. You would download the latest episode from like Zippy Share or something, or LimeWire, and then I would just watch it, and then I'd rock up to school and just like talk about the episode, be like, oh my god, you see what Ichigo did, man? He got his bunkai. This is crazy.
Yeah, that Japanese style of storytelling.
I think because Dan and I have mentioned this a lot on the podcast, because anime is treated with a sense of like otaku geek culture in mind, but it's not treated in a reverence that cartoons are for kids. So these are like shonen animes you're talking about. Perfect Blue is more for adults as well, but they weren't treated in a sense that we're making this for kids. Honestly, like anime is made because it's cheaper to do, because you can't build those sets. So you want to tell like quite a grand story, so you just make anime. But I think the focus of you saying it's better, it must be that because the focus is on the story. There's definitely like merchandise in mind. Like, I mean, Bleach, like, buy the fucking Ichigo toy or buy the fucking Kenichi doll or whatever. Like, there's definitely shit you can sell, but I think...
Buy one of those, like, anime dolls with, like, the tits out.
The mouse pad.
Akihabara, you know what I'm talking about.
The mouse pad, bro. That's the best one.
But, I mean, like, I think it just was better because, I mean, in terms of Western animation back then, it was a lot of, like, Nickelodeon stuff that was geared towards like comedy, like Angry Beavers, Cat Dog, which I actually really enjoyed. Quite easy to watch after school when your brain is fried. But
it's real different.
Anime is just much more compelling back in the day. Yeah.
And I think it's because they have that template from the manga as well. So they're basically just recreating the manga, but in moving images and color.
Yeah.
So the story is already there. They don't really need to do much with that. It's just, and you see that kind of like, you see some things like that coming into the West, like The Walking Dead, for example. Walking Dead is based off a graphic novel, and people really, really like that show. Invincible, we were talking about Invincible before.
But there just wasn't much of that back in the day. I mean, we're basically just saying we were like weebs back then as a kid. Walking Dead's just a whole nother issue. That was good at the start, and then it just turned into like a soap opera.
When they started devolving away from the graphic novels is probably where it dropped off.
Yeah, it's just a soap opera. It's like, oh, we found a safe place. Someone's trying to threaten to take this. And then they kill him, and then they got to run away because the zombies overtake. And then season 2, we found a safe place. Oh, there's a villain who's trying to take it. We got to fight him.
It gets a bit samey. I stopped after the 3rd season with Walking Dead. And I was just like... yeah, no, I kind of got
And that
over
can
it.
happen in anime as well. When they run out of source material, they got to add filler.
The filler.
Yeah.
A Bounto arc on Bleach.
Oh,
Ooh.
Banto.
Skip
Yeah.
that shit.
I remember that shit. Oh man, that was a chore to watch. But even in Naruto, like everything preceding Shippuden is just like, you know, it's fun
Yeah.
in a way, but it's not really what you want to see. You want to see story progression, right? And I think like that's probably like going back to the original question. This is what like kids back in the 90s and the early 2000s were looking for. Is like a grand
bit
story,
hard, yeah.
but told in animated form. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I discovered Perfect Blue as one of those video nasties back in the day. Like I remember reading some article that this movie is pretty fucked up. And I was like, I was heavily into a lot of disturbing like anime and cinema back then, which is probably why I'm a messed up guy now.
It's a bit worrying to say, yeah.
But like it's I just found it much more intriguing that there was because I grew up, you know, we all grew up watching cartoons, but the idea of like seeing something as violent as say Ninja Scrolls was just like past like beyond what my mind could comprehend. Because I was into like I was always fascinated by like monsters and shit when I was a kid. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a pretty messed up guy. So yeah, again, as your girlfriend was saying before, like
not have
probably
gotten in
shouldn't
that
have
car.
you can see it on your face.
sucks,
You're just like, oh shit. What he's like, get me.
What did I get myself into?
But I guess like when it comes down to it, we haven't really talked about it, but did you actually like this movie?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you actually like it?
Yeah. I think it's a good theme, yeah. It's not something I'd recommend to everyone. Because there are quite a lot of themes that I don't think some people will be comfortable with. But it touches on a lot of what we see now, which is what we already mentioned with like new tech. Everyone's just talking about the negatives on someone. And it's just so easy to focus on the negatives because like going back to one of my posts already, like one of my reels, a lot of people just found it funny. It was just like a stupid thing we're just talking about. But then it's just so easy to just look at the few comments that are just like, oh my God, you're fucked up and like you're stupid. Yes, that's what gets to you. And
Those are the ones that are going to make you lose touch with reality.
yeah. So I remember seeing a reel from, I don't know if you guys know Vin Zheng, the keynote speaker.
No.
He spoke about, one of his reels talks about how you shouldn't ignore them entirely or something, or not hate comments, but you just need to remember how to stop yourself. So he would read comments and it'd be like, I really hated X, and then like you just stop right there and just move on to the next one, and then just focus on the positive comments. And it's especially important now for what we do, and just in general how people interact with each other on social media. I'm not trying to sound like some sort of philosophist here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh yeah.
Now philosophize, man.
Just do it, man.
You got the mic.
Just stay positive. Just
In 1,000
smile.
years' time, there will be like you'll get the Black Penguin book. You'll have the stone of like Tung, and it's just like
Be positive,
like
man.
meditations.
Just
by
smile. Yeah.
But it is true. Like if you're going to put yourself out there, it's hard. You need to kind of steel yourself for the potential that you might generate some hate for like an innocent comment about fur, for example. It can happen. Like it can happen. Anything can trigger anyone on the internet.
Yeah, well, in the movie, the main character gets obsessed about this particular website,
Yeah.
which if we relate to the past point, which is like, that's when you start focusing into the negative comments.
Yeah,
That's when you
yeah.
gotta really like stop yourself.
Yeah.
It gets crazy, man.
And you
Yeah,
got to do
yeah.
it for the right reasons as well. I think Mima is kind of pushed into it because, like we mentioned before, she's trying to make her elders happy. Yeah, she can't say no to this scene that she wants to say no to because she'd be letting down the people that kind of
The
got
team,
her to that
managers.
position.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of trapped in this situation. So I feel like in what we do, in anybody that's putting themselves in the public eye, you should never feel trapped. Right? Like that, you can always opt out if that's what you really want to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is the healthy option to just opt out.
In terms of time, I guess we'll do this as like a final segment.
Yeah.
What we usually do with our guests, we probably forgot to run this through you, but we often, with whatever movie we cover, because it is quite heavy, we think about what would be what I call the bad Hollywood Disney
Oh, I saw it
remake.
in the notes, yeah.
Oh yeah, Dan put it in the notes. Oh yeah, sweet. So maybe we can come up together in a sense. Like, who would you put as like the director or the actor, or is it still animated?
Look,
like in the bad Disney remake.
I'm all about memes here, so I would put the stalker as Patrick Bateman from American Psycho.
Okay. Get Christian Bale. Get Christian Bale back.
Yeah.
No?
Ooh, yeah.
Actually, I think Willem Dafoe would be a good choice for the weird stalker.
I feel like he's always a villain though.
No,
That would make it good.
no. More contemporary. It'd be Bill Skarsgård.
Oh yeah, he's weird looking.
He's a weird looking
guy, isn't
big
he?
guy. Yeah, he's really like fucking. Yeah.
Oh, Charlie Sheen. Yeah.
Charlie Sheen would be one of the executives
Yeah.
that get to go.
Just a coked up
He'd be the
executive.
photographer guy.
True.
Like, yeah, do that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the scene. The weird ass photographer.
Who would be Mima though? I just say Jenna Ortega because that's the only
Ortega's
like
everyone, right?
the new actresses that I know, and she could probably
Must
do
be a
it.
bunch of like
She
actors.
could actually do it because she's a scream queen these days. So like, yeah,
Must be a bunch of actors that actually go through this kind of stuff that probably
Yeah.
can draw on real world experience.
yeah. Sydney Sweeney, maybe.
I was gonna say that just purely because
Just
there are-
purely,
there are-
yeah.
I don't want to say it, but
Yeah,
She gets a lot of hate.
yeah.
everyone does, man.
Rachel Zegler.
Everyone gets hate.
Rachel Zegler, Jesus Christ, yeah.
But yeah, like directors, I mean, if we wanted to make it good, it'd probably be Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, don't know. But we're talking about
It's
the
the obvious choice.
bad
I
Hollywood
don't know any of
remake.
these people.
Michael Bay.
I know Michael Bay. It's like more
Yeah.
explosions, right?
Yeah, more explosions. Yeah,
If-
more like butt shots. Like
If
from the
you wanted
ground
to
up.
make this the bad American remake, that would annoy me. It would be John M. Chu, and it would be a musical.
Who's the one who directed Cats? Why don't we put them in?
Oh, it was I forgot his name.
Why do I want to say Baz Luhrmann? It's not Baz Luhrmann, right?
It's not Baz Luhrmann. It's he did the King's Speech. He's actually like done good movies, but Cats was just really bad. Yeah, I forgot his name.
That's all right.
But yeah.
Taylor Swift could do Mima. On that note,
Oh, yeah, that would be. I don't know if Taylor
be
Swift can
interesting.
act though.
How about Rebel Wilson?
Rebel Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah,
That's just so random.
sure. Let's try get an Aussie in there.
Yeah,
Why not?
She's more of a roomie probably though.
She'd be good as Rumi. To be fair,
the
she'd be really good.
she'd be
psycho
in there,
eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd say for the bad Disney remake, it'd be. Do you know who John M. Chu is? He did Crazy Rich Asians,
Yeah, it's familiar. Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of like Justin Bieber musicals, and
He'd make it about discovering identity. Though,
Yeah,
Tabby.
probably.
What is this? A HSC?
I mean, like the movie is about it's like it's, yeah.
I guess.
Oh, yeah, because she's going schizo and she's like, "Who are these? Why is this ghost following me around?"
I mean, if I were to make it good, I'd put Charlie Kaufman. I mean, you probably don't know him, but a lot of his movies are very similar to the themes in this. That's probably the director that's closest to the chopping of like spaces, time and space, and bending shit together. That's probably the closest thing you'll
I mean,
get
Hitchcock and
in
Kubrick
live action.
kind of do that stuff as well.
Yeah,
but they're
yeah, they
dead,
do
I
that.
guess, so
Yeah,
we can't
they're
get
dead, so they can't do them. Yeah.
Monster Reborn, get him back.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much all. I mean, like, unless you guys have another director in mind, would it be?
I reckon
would it be
Michael
live
Bay.
action?
I don't even
Oh,
think of
Get Michael Bay,
directors.
get Taylor Swift, Mark Wahlberg, chuck him in there in some capacity. He could be the photographer guy. He'd be a good one,
Mark
isn't it?
Wahlberg's just roomy,
Nah,
but he's just like,
I reckon Dan Schneider is the photographer.
oh, that's
And it'll just be like all feed pics.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
It's a good shout. It's a good shout.
fuck it up.
Lock him in.
Yeah.
Get him on the phone.
Well, I
Tubby.
mean, like, if you were to like make this like not the bad, but like maybe more timely, yeah, it probably would be about maybe like an actor trying to get into a Nickelodeon
Yeah,
show
to
and then
Disney.
losing your identity, like having to say yes to it because you have to please. Yeah, so in that sense, if you wanted to make it like palatable and more timely, yeah, that's. I mean, obviously not Dan Schneider, but you'd have a Dan Schneider-esque character.
There's a lot of
there.
Western actors that have gone through this arc, but just not to murderous circumstances.
You could honestly make a
Like
pretty
Miley Cyrus,
decent,
Selena
yeah.
Gomez, all of these people have kind of
Oh,
gone
is Miley Cyrus
transition.
basically the bad remake already because she's two identities, but it works out for her?
Yeah.
She's already done it then. She's
There you go.
experienced.
It's basically
Go
my
watch Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
That's the perfect blue.
That's perfect blue. That's what perfect blue is,
that's
I guess.
exactly what
Disney
perfect blue. Yeah.
Everybody lives. And
yeah.
it has a pretty happy ending. I forgot how happy the ending
Yeah,
was.
the ending
for this,
is quite
for
happy.
this
She's
film.
just like, yep, I know myself. I mean, there's been some theories about, it's actually like a dark,
It's
but
pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
It
it is.
it's not one of those stupid films where it's like, oh, it's up to the interpretation of the viewer. And it's just like a cliff.
I thought it was going to be that. When, like, upon a rewatch, I had kind of forgotten how it ended.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to do like a Shutter Island kind of situation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Shutter Island's good.
Yeah, where,
It's a good movie.
Yeah, but no, it's not that. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
and pretty
quite
happy.
straightforward,
Pretty
yeah.
pleasant to watch.
But I mean, yeah, maybe we should wrap this up. But I mean, like as Tung said, like it's definitely not a movie for everyone. It's pretty heavy. Like I forget sometimes how heavy.
Although
this movie
Tavi
is.
would recommend it to
I would
everybody.
recommend it
and has
because,
recommended to everybody. It's not for everybody. It's a
So
disclaimer.
I would highly recommend
watch
this
it.
movie. But
Don't watch
yeah.
it with your folks.
Yeah,
I
don't watch it
reckon.
with your family. You'll watch it, and then those scenes will come up, and then it's like, oh, how you doing, son? What's going on here? You're playing video games?
Don't watch
Are you
it on
watching-
an airplane like I did, because
Yeah, not
there's some
good.
scenes in there that you might
Yeah.
want to gloss over. But I think it holds up.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I watched that, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but do you want to wrap this up then, and then we can
Yeah,
get,
but guys, what
yeah.
do you think of Perfect Blue? If you've seen it, has any of this rambling convinced you to watch it? Let us know.
Yeah.
You can let us know you can contact us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram at twoasianblokes to see what we're up to. Thank you so much to Tung for joining us.
Yeah, maybe where
today's
can-
Thanks
episode.
for having me.
Our
Yeah,
listeners
do you want to
can
put in
find you,
some tags and contacts?
Oh,
here?
Do you want
Yeah.
to put in
I'll
your
put 'em in
third
the
video,
description
and
as
then you can get another viral hit like you fucking bastard? How dare you?
Well, you can find us. You can find me on Instagram at Rice N Mics MICS podcast, or you can just Google Rice N Mics. Usually the first hit. I think that's the only company. I think when I first set up the whole podcast, but hopefully I convinced you to check out some of my stuff.
Yeah. How do you eat your fur? Do you put sauce in it? Do you put bean shoots in it?
I'm not like opening this can of worms again.
You're wrong if you put sauce in it.
I mean, next time we see Tung, you're
You're
like
eating fur wrong.
can of worms
covered
again.
in the dark, and you're just like the horror. You just see all
This
that
again,
shit.
huh?
Yeah, but that's what I was saying. Thanks for coming. You might have convinced me to get a roadcaster, so because it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, it's great to have you in town, and hopefully, if there's at some point there's another weird anime movie that we want you to watch, maybe we'll
sure.
get in touch. And
Yeah.
it's been pretty chill. We might have veered off topic a little bit, quite a few points, but I think
We'll get it in.
that's
It's
normal.
definitely-
It's fine.
Yeah, I think
We're all podcasters here. We get it.
yeah, but I think there's definitely like a lot of interesting stuff. I think that we touched upon that. You've hopefully stayed until the end and not have to hear me say that the stuff is interesting, because I think it is anyway.
All right. Until next time, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, fucking cheers.
Cheers.
Oh fuck, it's empty. I already drank like 3 of these.
Cheers.
Too
Cheers.
much for the morning.
Yeah. Oh fuck.